Today we have a crazy story of an entitled parent throwing away a bunch of silverware because they had to get it from the dishwasher instead of the drawer. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, oh my god, I just had to intervene to stop a mother from getting her child killed, and I was the problem apparently. I'm sorry, I need to vent because I'm shocked and worried about this child. This just happened and I'm running off adrenaline. My Fitbit says my heart rate is 130 BPM. For context, I currently live in a suburb in Texas. My son's primary school is on a long stretch of road. It's 5 lanes. The speed limit is 70 miles per hour. During school zone hours, it's 30 miles per hour. The school sits right in the middle and the crosswalks are at least half a mile each way, maybe more. The point is, it's not close. One's closer than the other, but it's not a brisk walk, it's a trek. This road is also very popular since it leads into the city and houses all tiers of public education. There are giant trucks, working trucks, and all manners of cars at any given hour. It's super backed up during school hours. So here we are. My husband is pulling out of the school and it's a chore because of the heavy traffic. He notices a kid right next to us on the sidewalk showing signs of looking down these 5 lanes. He better not be trying to cross the street. What the freak? He hardly mentions before slamming the pedal. The kid had stepped into the road and my husband pulled immediately into the street to stop the people on that lane. The kid pulls back. I jump out of the car and yell at the kid to immediately discourage anything. "Stop!" cried the OP. Let me tell you, this kid was not fine. I couldn't get a word out of him and he couldn't explain to me what he was doing. He was panicked, blubbering, and looking to the other side. I had to hold him so he would stop trying. He kept looking toward a cyclist on the other side of the road. She was yelling at me. You can't hear it over 5 lanes. I figured it was his mom, so I asked, "Do you want me to drive him to you?" She did not like that. This crazy bench barged down those 5 lanes, thus worsening public opinion over cyclists. She was in her entire gear and yet she left her bike on the other side. She tossed it down, she stormed onto the road holding out her hand. The cars rolled into a stop, the last one being a gigantic Texas truck whose hood was at her shoulder. "What's the problem here?" she had the audacity to ask me, as if I just didn't pull a Greg Abbott on an abortion. I suppose at 417.42 weeks, there could be exceptions. "Are you his mother?" I laid down the narrative to judge her character above her preferred mode of transportation. "Yes, I am," she rambled here, "but I don't speak crazy." I cut her off. "Okay, but he was trying to cross the street." "I know, we're practicing." My goodness, I can't tell you the way my heart sank to hear that this woman planned to put her 8-year-old son into this situation and fully intended for him to do so on his own, as if it takes exposure therapy to get over one's fear of getting hit by a freaking Punisher logo-clad murder truck. And now, I'm not a busybody. I disengage with people whose tone screams entitlement. It's a skill you master in Texas. I am, however, shamelessly confrontational when it involves a child who can't defend themselves. I turned toward my husband, who had now parked back inside the school's lot, and yelled, "Hey, it's okay. They're just practicing endangering the life of a child." He screamed back, "What?" Because, again, 5 lanes, but I pretended he could hear me. I added, "I know, who does that? Not me, a normal person." Because I was just being a bench right back to that lady. She had taken her son to the side, knelt and held his hands, and was rambling to him her crazy nonsense about me. Once those people go off, you can control the energy they spend on you and keep them engaged in some way. I wanted her to stay there because I wasn't going to let it go. I needed the good guys though, those forged by the fires of crazy. I stormed right into the school building and knocked on the office window, where 3 lovely women of varying levels of administrative power were already there. I opened up dramatically again. "This is urgent. A kid tried to cross the street on his own. He almost got hit. I stopped him and his mother told me they were practicing." Those wonderful women were in disbelief, as those with functioning amygdalas would typically be. They tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, but once I pointed out that she was in her cyclist gear and her bike was 5 lanes away, they started to call in the cavalry. The lady most intent on stopping her took the walkie-talkie from the other lady and stormed out. The now walkie-talkie-less lady asked me a bit more about what happened. I reiterated my brief experience, emphasizing the road being crossed right there where the bike lay, and she finally believed that it happened. They mostly talked to themselves about their rules for children on that road. It was nice to hear that they already had them down to specifics, as one would assume. It was the whole reason I went to be a dirty snitch. I only knew that jaywalking was illegal in all of Texas. I break it all the time myself on the road, but it's a special kind of freaking demented to make a young child do it on his own. In Texas, where one more lane is our only understanding of infrastructure next to sky roads and your tax money builds my buddy's privatized tolls, from here on, it wasn't my problem anymore. I only lingered slowly like the smug jerk I am to make sure the walkie-talkie lady managed to engage the mother. When we drove past them, the mother glared daggers at me while yelling at the walkie-talkie lady, so I waved at her with a warm smile. Bless her heart, she thinks she's right. Deep down though, I'm still panicked that it even happened. I know the school will handle it because they have a really good security system involving rules and volunteers because, sadly, that's what we've needed to resort to since Uvalde. They will make that lady know she's no exception to these keep child alive rules as long as she's on their property. She's free to kill them elsewhere though. Honestly, that last part is what will keep me up at night. That poor kid was a mess when I talked to him. He couldn't communicate with me, and he was terrified of his mother. The least I can do is keep an eye out for him each day after school to make sure she doesn't try to pull that stunt again. Well, that wraps up my story. My heart rate is now 115. It helped, I guess. Edit, hello, let me clear things up. Rules were broken by the child to get where he was. He was missed by people because he walked through a grassy area. There's no sidewalks or crosswalks connected there, and there is only a forested area across those lanes. No houses, no stores, no buildings whatsoever. His mother probably instructed him to get there. I'm not sure where she came from or where she intended to go. All my comments are jokes. I use humor to cope. Read this in a sardonic tone. I don't hold any strong opinion over anything. I hated everyone involved that put the child in danger. Lastly, we have a tiny car, and even I miss the kid because it's such an insane place to look for a kid. His mother went above and beyond in crossing a lot of rules for her convenience that no one thought possible. This will probably lead to a new rule now. I think even most people who subscribe to a lifestyle of snitches get stitches or whatnot are probably going to be willing to look the other way when it comes to protecting a child. At least I would hope so. I certainly would have zero remorse about reporting that mom, but I would be just like OP. Later on that night, I would lay down on my bed and worry about what crazy nonsense that mom's gonna try to make that kid do next. If you're willing to try to push your young kid to try to cross a 5-lane road with no reason to do so really, I would say to me it seems pretty fair that they take a long hard look at whether or not you're even fit to be a parent. Shadow Fox commented, "Yep, some parents just suck." I once had a mother yell in my face because I stopped her toddler from running onto a road where cars were actively going by. Drivers more focused on finding a parking spot. But no, I'm some evil person for not letting her toddler do whatever he wanted because he needed to learn. Dead kids don't learn, lady. Then she went and reported me to my boss's boss, who was just as shocked as I was by this. And if I had to redo that day, I would do the same thing because kids do need to be helped and stopped from putting themselves in harm's way. OP responded saying, "It's worth more to prevent than to lament." That was an adage ingrained to me by my grandmother. Some people really do think they're so important that reality will spare them from tragedy. The child shouldn't suffer for them. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy crazy stories of entitled parents, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, why do entitled parents do this to 3-year-old toddlers? I'm still shaking my head at this absolute entitlement by grandparents who should know better. I just read a posting on Just Know Mother-in-Law, I lurk from time to time, where these grandparents invited their son, daughter-in-law, and toddler grandson over to their home to celebrate the grandson's 3rd birthday. Keep in mind, this baby just turned 3 years old. The grandparents give this toddler a lot of neat toys that get him so excited. When it's time for kiddo to go home and starts to take his birthday gifts home with him, entitled grandparents decree that no, he can't take them home. His birthday gifts must stay with the grandparents. Naturally, the toddler is upset, crying, etc. because he's being told that he is not allowed to have his birthday gifts for no reason. Mama Bear steps up and tells her baby, "It's okay, we'll get you identical toys for home." Cue grandparents screaming at the daughter-in-law for daring to defy them. Mama Bear stands her ground and the young family heads towards home. The dumb husband tries to hand his wife a guilt trip because his mommy's little fifis got hurt. Dumb husband totally ignored what his parents just did to a 3-year-old. Who does that? Obviously, this is just an incredibly disappointing power play trying to be installed here by the grandparents. We'll get your kid all this nice stuff, but you gotta bring him over to the grandparents' house more often. I was gonna say I'm sure there's a lot more to this story that shows why they would have to go to such lengths as trying to bribe your kid and emotionally guilt trip you into coming to visit them more often. But their actions and the rest of trying to guilt trip the parents blatantly, I think does a pretty good job of selling to you why they felt they had to go to such lengths in the first place. Tropics and Caffeine commented, "It's a way for them to force the kids to want to go over to their house. If they want to play with the toys, they have to come over." It is just crazy, but I have seen that happen. OP responded saying, "It's sickening to me. That entitled grandma is lucky that only her little fifis got hurt. Mama Bear could have done more damage. Never screw over her cub." This next story is, kicked out of home, forced to throw away my bed, replaced by a used mattress, all for petty spite. So I was debating writing about this for a while because I still feel very selfish and entitled myself for being mad about this. But the more I think about it, the more I tell myself, I don't deserve this, so here it is. I finally got the nerve. I did omit a lot of details though to just the stuff strictly relevant to the situation. I'm 23, female to male, and after high school, I continued to live with my mom while searching for a place of my own. It's not that I wanted to live at home either. In fact, I was entirely fed up with the cramped space and no privacy. The area, though, was so expensive that you would need 5 roommates, a sacrifice of a leg, and a contract with the Demon King himself to afford rent, especially on my working income at the time. For reference, no apartment was under $2,000 a month if it had 2 bedrooms or more, and I'm minimum wage. My mom was fine with me living with her, and I kept to my own space and helped pay rent, went grocery shopping, and did chores around the house. Every few days when I didn't work nights, I would make dinner for everyone, so it was going decently for a few years while I continued looking. My younger sister suddenly had a baby last year with no preparation. One of those, I'll figure it out after it's born situations where she did not, in fact, figure it out. 3 months in, my mother demanded for adoption despite the entire family saying not to. Not only could we not afford a baby, we also didn't have any space, and we all worked very grueling long-hour jobs. Everyone was telling her not to do it, with my aunt even offering to take the baby in instead because she had the time and money, and she didn't have any kids of her own, but my mom refused. I had no say in a lot of the stuff in my bedroom being thrown in the trash to make room, and when I mentioned how I didn't even have a say in the baby being in my room, I was told, families make sacrifices. I was frustrated but decided not to make it a battle. I have a severe sleep disorder and knew a crying baby at night would impact my sleep and work a lot. But there wasn't anything I could say to change her mind, so I just accepted it as a new part of my life. But when the baby came in, I was kicked out before long. She made it increasingly clear that I wasn't wanted at home anymore. She regularly cooked dinner and didn't make enough for me, despite me never doing the same to them, and I was told to heat up leftovers. Still, I didn't say anything. When the baby began walking and learning what hitting was, I became her favorite target and was scolded if I complained or moved when she came up and slapped me. Sometimes my mother would even stare to watch what I would do when she saw the baby walking up. Apparently, quietly getting up and stepping out of the room after getting hit was not the response she wanted. I never once raised my voice or injured the baby, but not actively praising her for hitting my laptop while I was filing my taxes was the worst sin I could have done. I eventually got fed up and called her on it. I told her she wanted the baby at the house. I never signed up for it. If she wanted the baby praised and doted on, she could do it too and not push me to do it when I clearly was busy and or didn't appreciate being constantly hit. My mother retorted again that I had to make sacrifices and it was part of being an adult. In awe, I was stunned to silence and just walked away. From that day, she was much colder to me. sighing every time she saw me out of my room, kicking me out of the living room if I was watching a show on TV on my day off, and not going shopping at all. She actively avoided food shopping and only bought baby food while she ate on our lunch break. It was rather petty, I thought, so I simply bought my own food and nobody in the house would make dinner anymore. When I wasn't bothered by it, she began another tactic of complaining I shouldn't be at home when I'm over 18 anymore and would send me housing listings. I looked at them every time, but there was always something wrong. $5,000 rent, run down and falling apart, way too far to commute to work, in a dangerous neighborhood, etc. Not that I was picky, of course. My only requirement was it being safe, in working order, and affordable. I didn't care about anything else when it came to housing, and I felt my requirements were fairly reasonable. One day I had a friend come over. She was coming to pick me up so we could head for a birthday party. So I ran to my room to grab my things and the gift I had prepared, and I heard them talking before I walked back out. My mother was complaining to her that I still lived there and thought it would be good for us to find a place as roommates. Embarrassed and annoyed, I returned and a small argument fell between the three of us, ending when I opened up the rental page to look at the listings in front of her. She happened to find something, an apartment way too far to commute and barely affordable, but she made me apply for it in front of her. Whatever, I thought, there's no guarantee I'll get it. Well, I was accepted along with my new roommate. Within a week, my things were U-hauled and the moment I was gone, my mother began doing renovations and house parties at her place. Not relevant, but in case anyone is curious, I got to work by cab from there. One thing that became an issue was my bed and frame. I wanted to take it with me. It was a perfectly fine bed, a double, with a fitting frame and a drawer underneath for storage. I had it since high school, but it was in fantastic condition. She refused to let me take it with me and insisted it should just go to the dump and she would buy me a new one. My aunt offered to get me a new one first. She said I was an adult and I should have a queen size rather than a double, and she would get it for me. I was super excited and we picked out the perfect one. She promised she would get it for me when she got paid the following month, and I thanked her profusely. Since she was getting me a new bed, I said it was okay for my mom to trash my old one, and I stopped resisting it. Then suddenly my mother told me she found me a brand new mattress. I didn't know this at the time. She secretly told my aunt not to get me anything because she was getting it instead, and my aunt thought I knew, so the promised mattress was never coming. I believe this one was a temporary until I got the new one. My mom let me believe that for about 2 months. She brought it over and said, "I didn't need to buy one after all. A friend of mine gave me theirs. It's still new." It was significantly smaller than my first bed, but I didn't want to be greedy or ungrateful, so I accepted it. It was a twin, and at my size I could barely fit on it, but I was grateful to have a bed. Only an issue, it was new to me. The bed had some gross stains on it of various colors. I simply covered them with a mattress cover thinking, this is my bed now, it's alright, I'll get the real bed soon. My aunt wanted to keep helping though and said she would get me a frame for the twin so I could get it off the ground. When the new frame arrived, she insisted for a video call to see it all set up. I showed her the built frame and the bed and she asked how I liked it, which went a bit like this. Aunt saying, "So what do you think? Are you excited?" I said, "Yes, it's great. I was able to put it together, thank you." She says, "You're welcome. What about your covers, do they fit?" I said, "Yeah, they're alright. I was kinda looking forward to the one we picked out though." She replied, "I know, but at least you got a new bed." I said, "True, there is a small problem with it though." She said, "A problem? What? Your mom said it was brand new." I said, "Well, it's new to me. It kinda came with some stains." She said, "What? Are you serious? Let me see." I showed her the stains. Not tiny stains either, they're massive, taking up half of the bottom bed with thick, dark colors. When she saw, she was in shock. She said, "Oh my god, that is not okay. Where did your mom get it?" I tell her she said she got it from a friend for free. The friend said it was unused though. She replied, "I knew your mom would cheap out. She told me not to get you one." I replied, "Huh? No, I was really excited for the one we chose. I didn't want to say anything. I was just happy to have a bed. I was looking forward to that mattress for months." She replied, No, not okay. You've been sleeping on that for months? Please tell me you have a mattress cover. Your mom said it was brand new out of the box. That needs to be dumped immediately. Tell you what, I'll get you the new mattress and your mom and I will go halves on it." It didn't take long for my mom to be chewed out for the mattress, and she accepted paying for half of a new one, so I went to the mattress store to check for new ones. The one my aunt and I looked at was already gone, and I found one. When I called my mom though, she said she couldn't go halves because she just had to pay for something and she was broke, making my aunt foot almost the entire bill. To prevent a fight, she contributed around $40. I was going to help, but she refused to accept anything because I'm still in a rough financial spot because of my new rent, while also saying it was supposed to be my mom, not me. About a week later, I visit my mom to pick up some mail of mine, only to see she couldn't afford the mattress because she bought a giant plastic playhouse for the baby. There was a mini one in the bedroom already, but she felt the baby needed a big one outside in case her playmates came over. I can't help but feel there's some petty feelings still left over from when I wouldn't engage with the baby how she wanted me to, but I've stopped fighting it. At least someone's on my side right now. I know I'm an adult, I should be responsible for myself, so I often feel like I'm being selfish and ungrateful about the whole situation, but I wasn't financially ready to leave and she knew that. I even tried to make up to her by cooking, paying half the rent, doing chores, and staying out of the main rooms as best I could, but also forcing me to throw out my good bed to replace it with a stranger's free used mattress is probably unreasonable, right? Like, feeling this petty towards your own kid definitely feels like entitled parent behavior to me. Sorry if this ran on long. I felt it wouldn't make sense without the full context. And I'm on mobile too. The real new mattress is being delivered next week. Fingers crossed. Thank you again, Auntie. I definitely don't have the verbal destruction skills you do. First of all, I think OP absolutely is valid that at least they have somebody that's willing to look out for them, but also at least there's somebody out there that can also keep that entitled parent in check, keep them honest somehow. I mean, with all this ridiculous behavior that everybody else seems to let her get away with, it's nice that the aunt can go in there and give them a quick whoosh. Solely verbally, of course, though. Inevitable Librarian commented, "Might I suggest you play a new game, Sweeping America? And the game is thus No Contact. And here's how you play the game. Cut all ties with her. I'm talking email, phone, texts, everything. If you can move, the better, because we'll all know at some point something will happen. The car blew up because we didn't put oil in it, the stove was faulty, so somehow it started a small fire, fun like that. And she'll come a-running with her crap, her needs, and whatever or whoever else she can Shanghai into this. And she needs you because we're family." That's when you pull the trap card. Just shut the door in her face, go back and do what you were doing before. Our next story is Entitled Mom Shoves Me at a Theme Park. A few years ago, my family and I went to a theme park a few hours away. We were waiting in line for a ride. In these lines, there's a chain/rope line divider which creates a couple feet of space in between the lines of people. We were standing there minding our own business when I saw a little kid, probably 2 to 3 years old, trotting along the line divider and stopping to say hi to people in line while giggling. All of a sudden, I feel a hard shove to my back and shoulder pushing me to the left, and apparently it was the kid's mother trying to chase them down. No excuse me, no apology, just steamrolling through everyone. The line was in a pretty enclosed space, but there would still be room to pass on the right since the child was only playing between the line dividers and we weren't packed in tight. My hackles went fully up. I loudly said, "Don't freaking touch me." Once she caught the child, she mumbled, "Freak off," as she came back through. 2 minutes later, the kid ran by again, followed by Psycho Mama. This time, she didn't shove me at least, but did give me a stink eye as she dragged the kid back to their point in line. I would understand if the kid was running towards something dangerous, but they were not. He was 10 feet in front of her and not running away fast. I get that wrangling kids in a theme park can be tough. It's hot, you're annoyed, it can be a lot. Unless someone is literally in danger and you need to push through a crowd to get to them, never put your hands on a person like that. I barely tolerate people I know touching me, much less a total stranger. Get that kid a leash and keep your dang hands off my body. It's not quite the same thing, but this story kind of reminds me of an experience I had when I was at a water park when I was probably 10, 11 years old. I was in one of those classic lazy river things. You know, there's a bunch of other people floating around. Some of them are sitting on those donut pool floaties. I'm just having a blast of it there with my older adult sibling just swimming up and down through the water, and I may have grazed past somebody slightly, but whenever I was swimming by and popped back up to the surface to get some air, they immediately come over and just dunk my head back under the water, saying don't touch me or whatever, like accusing me of like being a creeper and like intentionally touching them or something. Like, I don't know if they thought I was actually trying to like touch their butt or something or creep on them or something, but I was just a 10-year-old kid swimming around in the lazy river. They literally came up and dunked my head and held me underwater for a few seconds. Literally, the rest of the time I was at that theme park, the only thing I could think about in my 10-year-old mind was freak that witch. Anna the Bunny commented, "Genius parenting right here. Not only did she refuse to leave the line to go chase him down, presumably she had someone holding her spot, I don't know, but she somehow managed to let him get away from her twice within 5 minutes." This next story is, my mom threw out 99.9% of the silverware because she had to get them from the dishwasher instead of the normal drawer? Yeah. Title explains it all. What the freak? I wasn't even at my house to witness this, but my cousin, foster or adopted, I don't even know the status at this point, mentioned that we barely have any silverware. Confused, I asked him to explain, and my other cousin chirps in to explain the situation. She threw out nearly all the silverware because they were in the dishwasher instead of the dedicated drawer, and my younger siblings were forced to eat spaghetti without any cutlery. I know I can't do much personally, but is there anything that could be done besides buying a new set with my own money and tell her to freak off from it? So, like, short of buying a personal set that everybody can just kind of like hide and keep in their own place, I would just say that doesn't sound like healthy, rational behavior at all, and I would just say I'm very concerned that something serious is going on there. Def Trav commented, "Sounds like she had a psychotic break. Maybe get her mental health care?" This next story is, update on my mother draining the life out of me. Hi, I've posted in here twice, and I'm not sure posts like this are allowed, but I thought I'd give an update. Through some of the resources provided in this sub and various comments, I, 23-year-old female, have realized my mother is a covert narcissist who's been emotionally and mentally abusing me throughout my entire childhood. I've been forced to be the parent in our dynamic, and our relationship has always been volatile, something I thought was my fault due to my temper. In the recent years, things have gotten worse and moved into physical altercations. I'm happy to note that in a month's time, I'll be moving out of her apartment into another country entirely. I'll be going to law school and I'll be out of her house, hopefully with low contact moving forward. I will not be financially aiding her anymore, as I won't have the funds to do so while a full-time student. I'm looking into getting a therapist once I get to my new homestead. Thank you to the comments I got, not only for the empathy, but also to the ones pushing me to see what I needed to do. Thank you for the resources. I'm hoping low contact will be the space needed to create a semi-healthy relationship with my mother moving forward. Honestly, I think in a lot of situations, even ones that seem pretty healthy, you can't understate what having some level of space can do to increase the health of a relationship. I mean, look at how a lot of people felt during lockdown when things felt almost suffocating with the lack of space you had if you were living with someone. I think most people especially know, even in like an immediate relationship like your boyfriend or your girlfriend, like you kind of need to both have your own hobbies. You need to be able to have some space apart, because I feel like just after a while things do get a little rough if you're just always in the same room doing the same thing. Like, you need to be able to air out a little bit, even if that means going almost no contact with an entitled parent. Virtual Cucumber 7955 commented, "Onward and upward, friend. Hope you achieve more than you ever thought possible in life. Don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm, but offer assistance where and to whom it is truly needed. Take time and therapy, if needed, to decide what kind of people that you want to surround yourself with. Close friends. Keep others at necessary distance. Changes by person or relationship. You will meet many people in your life. Your mother should be a guidepost in judging relationships, but not the be-all, end-all. Wisdom in your life with other people means that you must discern their intent, unfortunately. In your study groups in law school, you'll meet many different people. Watch and discern who are the people that want what's best for everyone in their study groups and who tries to undermine everyone else. Use that information wisely. In your future career, hopefully very successful, discernment will be vital in determining who is friend or foe, and it doesn't matter where anyone stands in any category. You can have fellow employees against you and clients forming a formidable wall around you. Go where your biggest supporters lead. This may lead to unimaginable places for you, but upward and onward. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy entitled parent story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.